These playoffs are getting very tight. Well, on the Eastern side, rather, the Pacers blow a 20-point lead to fall to the Knicks 106-100 at the crib, while the Thunder go up 3-1 on the Wolves after a 128-126 victory in Minnesota last night. What's interesting to me is the East, no one can close out a lead, while in the West, it's been blowout city. Not last night though. Let's get into the takes.
Hey, so you want to know what I realized? So for both games, I realized this when I was watching the game. I realized a different in their game plan. So in game three, Pacers Knicks. I'll start with that one. They the first half they were rolling with Brunson, like running the ball right through him, no matter what. Every single possession, Brunson, Brunson, Brunson. Then he got into foul trouble, and then once he got into foul trouble, they started. Okay, we got to use our role players a lot more. We got to involve Cap more and get the ball to the perimeter and shoot some threes and get back into this game. That's exactly what they did. They had a clutch three before the end of the half, and then second half when Brunson was still in foul trouble, obviously they still ran that exact same thing, and then it got back to that point where they're running these screens and making sure people are open, swinging the ball left and right on the wing, and then people are wide open in the lane. Sometimes, like it was a perfect sequence of adjustments that I realized from the Knicks in the second half. And when it comes to the Wolves and the Thunder, I realized this too. This is the biggest thing I realized. So you know how you see people guard Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, they're usually up top on him and like kind of closer for example, let's say he's on the um left side of the court, like near the half court line. So I realized Jaden McDaniels, he'll come up to him and it would allow Shea to blow by him when it because the screen like Hardenstein and Chet would come and give him a screen up top, and then he'll just drive easy, and
Mhm.
then he has an option to swing it left or swing it right or go up and get a foul. Okay, this is what they did when they won the game. Jaden McDaniels started pressing off of him. He was playing off ball because when Shea's like off ball, he's not as explosive and as useful because if he doesn't have the ball in his hand, he doesn't move around like Steph Curry or anything. So you kind of just leave him alone. But obviously, if he's get the ball back, you run towards him and you close out. He can't make a shot, and I realized that. But they did the same thing last night, and it just didn't work very well. I mean they only lost by two, but still, it was just you could tell the difference in the Thunder's game plan, which is run it through Shea, but Jalen Williams is running the ball up half the time as well. So they didn't have an answer for both of them at the same time.
Well, how about Randall and Anthony Edwards just not showing up at all in that game? I mean, Anthony Edwards did what he can down the stretch, like any
Right.
big player would. But how about for Randall not to even, be even a factor in that game, and to kill Alexander Walker to have 23 points off the bench, and DiVincenzo 21 points off the bench, and Reed 11 off the bench. That
Yeah,
is a lot of bench scoring.
they win that game if he plays good.
You're
So
right. They win that game if Randall at least shows a heart, a pulse, a heartbeat at
mhm.
least. 1 for 7 at the crib, and basically a must win.
And Shay's 43% of Shay's free throws came in the last like 8 minutes of the game or something like that. So they started playing sloppy on him. They're playing him very well all game. I mean, he still had like 30 still, so it didn't really matter. But I mean, it was rough.
Heck, even Terrence Shannon gave something, and
Yeah.
he's a rookie. Uh, so I wanted to jump. The biggest thing about the East, I want to say, nobody can hold a lead. Okay, nobody can.
No game
This
is
is the
safe.
Knicks' third 20-point comeback since I believe the 1980s or something like that. Since the last team did it. But
Mm.
really, what stood out to me with most was the game changed when Neesmith's ankle injury got hurt. You
Yeah.
could see a shift in how the Knicks played when Neesmith got hurt. It
Mm.
seemed
I
like
would
they started
actually
to attack the
argue
basket.
I
Go
would
ahead.
argue that the shift occurred right before halftime because
That's what
Indy
I'm
went into
saying.
the
Yeah.
half really lackadaisical. The Knicks went on that little mini run right before half to cut it back down to 13. And I know Reggie Miller mentioned on the TNT broadcast that he didn't feel good about how the Pacers ended that half. They got really lackadaisical down the stretch too. it felt like in that last few minutes that they were playing hot potato almost with the ball. Nobody wanted to shoot. Everyone seemed afraid, which is very unlike them.
Right.
And yeah, they really just struggled to get anything going offensively. The free flowing basketball that we saw in the first half, in the first two series, and even in the first two games, it kind of disappeared on them a little bit. It felt like everyone was afraid to shoot the ball. The moment got too big for them, which is really strange because they did the exact opposite in the Garden in game one. It felt like they had a real chance to close New York out in this game. And I wonder if this is going to be a momentum shift going forward. I feel like this could have been the turning point for the Knicks in this series. I'm going to watch game four tonight, obviously, before I draw any rash conclusions from that. But it was a really tough showing for Indy in that second half, and in a game where it felt like they could have closed them out easily and had plenty of opportunities to do so, they didn't.
Yeah, I
Well,
can see what you mean by that. About halftime, they cut it to 13, but they went up. They went back up 18 in the third quarter.
only for like 2 minutes, like no, not like less than a minute though. Then the Knicks started storming back.
Right. So it's like the minute Neesmith's ankle got hurt, it's like Cat, McBride. It wasn't even Brunson. Cat, McBride, and it looked like
That's what
Josh
I was
Hart
saying
really
before.
started
Yeah,
to find a pulse.
that's what I was trying to say before. Like in the first half, Thibodeau was playing like 9 players. He wasn't playing McBride. He wasn't trying to get Mitchell Robinson involved
But he
really.
couldn't play McBride because
He
he had
tried
foul trouble
everything. He had
really early.
DeJuan right in there.
I mean, he can play McBride in those situations where Brunson is in foul trouble, missing shots too. Like you got to be able to, you know, rely on some other people sometime as well. And that's exactly what he did. McBride was playing some great defense, some wing threes sometimes, and passing the ball, swinging the ball to Cat. Cat hitting tough shots at the top of the key and then dunking on people in the clutch. I mean, it was just I thought it was a beautiful game by Thibodeau as a coach to be able to start realizing like this is not just Brunson's team. Like he has great teammates surrounding him, and they can really win this series if they realize that. So I don't know. I thought that was a great adjustment by him and getting Cat
Oh
involved
yeah,
and getting at the top of the key. Like Cat was looked way more confident than he has all playoffs, in my opinion. So
I still think the Pacers are going to win the series, but tonight's going to tell a lot. Who
if they
could
win tonight,
definitely
bro, I
win the
don't know,
If
man.
series?
Indy wins tonight, it's pretty much wraps.
Well,
Well,
I'm
if
saying if the
Yeah,
Knicks
Indy
win,
wins, it's going to end in probably 5. But if you talk about if the Knicks, I still think the Pacers might win. But if the Knicks win tonight, almost becomes a must win for the Pacers to go back to the Garden and win.
which is very hard. Well, they did it
It
twice.
means that they're going to have to steal another one on the road, which it
Yeah.
felt like, especially in game one, that they may have gotten away with one with the luck and the bounce with Halliburton and just everything going right in the last 2.5 minutes. But they're going to have to do it again. If they lose tonight, they're going to have to steal another one at the Garden.
Yep.
If you win tonight, though, you can just take game 6 at home. But the weirdest thing about this Indy team is they've been better on the road through the postseason than they
Yes.
have been at home.
Absolutely.
With the
Which is
exception
actually
of the
insane.
first series against Milwaukee, where they lost one on the road, they shoot better on the road. It almost feels like they feed off of the other team's energy in a way.
They do. They don't like the fans fuel them when they start chanting overrated and stuff like that, which Donovan Mitchell learned the hard way that that's not the truth. And he dropped 40 and they still lost by like 5. So it was rough. But Brunson happened to Brunson in game 1. He dropped 48, I'm pretty sure, or 45, something like that. And they lost. So it really comes to, all I'm saying is if it goes back to the Garden and it's 2-2, you can count your days as a Pacers fan and anybody watching. But because I just don't see it happening. I don't see getting home court advantage back. It's 0-0 at that point. His best 2 out of 3 at that point. So I don't know. I got Knicks if they win tonight. I got them winning the series in 6.
Rick Carlisle is the championship head coach. So he had them boys going. Is whether or not will the Knicks be ready to go? That's the key. Or
I don't see why they wouldn't.
will Cat step up again?
He did game 1 and game 3. I think game 2 he was still good, but
it
not
wasn't.
as
It wasn't like that impact that he had last game.
right. Game 1 it was. Game 1 he was at 30.
Yeah, game one he was there.
Yeah, game 2 he had like 20 something. And it was there. It's just not. It was very quiet. But last night,
And you see the pattern how he's there for game 1, out for game 2, but there for game 3. Now it's game 4. You got to put together you have
You
to
got to
put
break the
together
curse
a back to
eventually.
back good games.
You got to break the curse eventually.
I know you guys mentioned Carlisle having the guys ready to go. That's what was so odd to me about the second half on Sunday was the Pacers seemed almost flustered. They hadn't been kind of out of it at all in this postseason. With for some reason they've dropped every game 3, which is something interesting. They'll win the first 2 games and then they'll drop game 3 and then they bounce back in game 4 with blowout wins. So that's what happens again tonight. It feels like business as usual, but it felt like they could have really ran away with that game and it just didn't end up happening. And Carlisle kind of surprised me. He didn't really there was no real offensive flow in that second half. I don't know if that was on the players, if that was on his game plan getting a
It
little too
wasn't.
lackadaisical,
It
but
wasn't. It wasn't him. I'm telling you that.
It
I'm
wasn't.
telling
I
you
don't
it
even think
wasn't.
it was. I don't think it was. It wasn't. It wasn't Carlisle. It was
The
more of the
defense
fact
on
that
the defense on the Knicks really carried that second half. They really they disrupted everything. Like Hallie, I will never forget this call for some reason, but Hallie, it was in. I think it was more towards the clutch. He was on the left wing and getting guarded by Miles Bridges or Mikal Bridges, and getting completely clamped. They couldn't swing it anywhere else because who else is going to make that last shot right in that moment? And they called the foul, which was really dumb in my opinion. But you could just tell like the defense on Hallie and everyone else from the Knicks. It was that game plan was just right. You have to stay on him. If you let him play off ball like that, run around, it looks like 2015 Warriors. So it's rough.
yeah. So I think it's more of the fact that it's easier to come back in a game than it is to hold a lead. Like my dad was saying, or like I was talking to my dad the other day. He was after the game. He was like, "It's easier to hold. It's easier to come back from a deficit than it is to hold a big lead because when you're coming back from a deficit, you ain't got nothing to lose. You know, you playing some real defense and you scoring quickly. You're trying to score very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're holding the lead, you're trying to not blow it, and you're not trying to score as fast, which could also be detrimental to you because if your offense is supposed to play fast, once you start playing slow, it kind of messes you up. So, and that's what hit the Pacers. They had a big lead, they got comfortable, felt like okay, this game's over when it wasn't, and it was a complete different second half as well because you're trying to hold that lead. You're trying to say, I'm not trying to blow it. And you blew it.
Let's
That's
look
what
at
happened with the Knicks, too.
let's look at some
Twice.
numbers. Let's
The
see.
Knicks had good leads, and they were trying not to blow it.
Like you see when I'm looking at the box score, it really tells the entire game plan here. So like Jalen Brunson, he had 23, Cat had 24, OG had 16, Bridges had
Yep, there's it
15,
is right there. OG.
and and you can just tell like no one's trying to score a a crap ton. They're playing team ball when you look at the scores at least. When you look at um the, the points, and when you look at the Pacers, only two. I mean, only three people. Miles Turner had 19, which is a big night for him offensively, but he's been a liability on defense, which I think kind of cost him the game yesterday because you I'm telling you, the Knicks flipped the Pacers game plan on them. You know how they bring the bigs out on the arch and they bring Turner or Siakam to the perimeter, and usually it's unguardable because the other team doesn't have perimeter defense. That's exactly what the Knicks did, and Turner is a big liability on the perimeter, and he's like one of their worst defenders in from what I've seen at least, and I think number wise as well. But they brought Cat up. They started splashing with Cat, which they should have been doing. I think they did game 1, and game 2 they lost, obviously just because Pacers were better. But the game plan was to bring Cat into it more, and I'm seeing a lot more, and I hope they do it again tonight because it worked to perfection. If they can continue hold a lead and hopefully get that done tonight and bring it back to the Garden, make a great series out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I wouldn't say Miles Turner is a bad defender. I'd say that matchup wise, he doesn't match up well with
He's
Mitchell
definitely one of
Robinson.
their weakest. I wouldn't say
Yeah,
he's a bad defender. He's just one of their
I don't know
weakest.
if he's
he's
bad
not. I
necessarily.
don't
It's
think.
just Cat exposes what he's not good at.
That's what I mean. Like,
I don't think he's a good.
not the
Well, I
greatest.
don't think he was guarding Cat. I think he was guarding Mitchell Robinson when
He was
he
guarding Cat
played.
towards the end of the game, I think, because Mitchell Robinson wasn't in yet. Because they
Yeah,
brought him in the clutch to play defense, but when it was the offensive lineup, he was guarding Cat and getting washed.
right. That's what I'm saying. So if and when you look at how they won game one and game two,
Mm.
when they won game two, it was a lot closer. And what's this name? I think Taylor. I think it is.
Taylor, what do you mean?
Tony
Their big
Bradley
Tony
was in
Tony
for
Bradley.
Bradley.
Indy.
That's it.
Tony Bradley.
Tony Bradley was a better matchup for Mitchell Robinson because he's a bigger body and he can hold firm in the paint, and that changed the series when they won game two. So I feel that if they start Mitchell Robinson again, you have to start Miles Turner and um, then you have to start Miles Turner and uh, uh, Torrey, and yeah. So I mean
Yeah,
Tony Bradley. So it's who would you bench? You would probably have to sit Nimhart until
no
you really
way.
start making a factor.
No
Or
way.
Nemhard is he's
No.
one of their defensive guys. I
You
feel
have
like
to bench him. You can't.
well, I mean he's not being benched. I'm just saying like if they're starting Mitchell Robinson, that means Josh Hart isn't starting.
Yeah, I mean,
Josh
Josh
Hart
Hart.
still played 34 minutes on
Right,
Sunday,
that's what
though.
I'm
It's not
saying.
like
He
he
still
wasn't out
played
there.
34 minutes, so it's still like Nimhart is still gonna get his minutes. He's just not gonna start at the opening tip because you want to establish early.
So you're saying a bench presence is needed.
Yes, you need a bench presence, but really it's all about matchups.
And they
If
got
Mitchell Robinson
McConnell in there.
starts,
If
then Tony
is
Bradley has to start.
is Mitchell Robinson starting? Do we know that yet?
I have no
He
idea.
started game
He
4
started
or
game
game
four, but I'm
3.
not sure if they'll start in game five.
I don't know if he'll and they usually end the game because it's been clutch. So they usually end the game at like with Mitchell Robinson on defense because it's been so close every game.
Mm.
But I mean, if you're rolling with that standard lineup, if Cat at the 4 and Mitchell Robinson at the 5, then yeah, I agree.
That's what I'm saying. You
you gotta
gotta
limit
play
your
that
options
matchup.
because if Hart's playing the 3, that's a big issue for them. Or no, if he's playing the 2, because OG would play the 3. Oh no, wait,
Yeah, that's right.
no, because Bridges isn't gonna play. He's starting, so
Bridges is the 3.
Bridges would be OG would be the 6th man, and so it would
No. It was they run a big lineup.
do they
Josh
run
Hart
a
didn't
big lineup?
start,
So
and then Bridges played the 2.
yeah, that's what I mean. So Brunson, then Hart, then Bridges, then Cat, then Robinson. I thought OG started. I thought he did.
He
He
did start.
did. Hart
Josh
came
Hart
off the
didn't
bench
start.
on Sunday.
Oh, Hart was on
Josh
the
Hart
bench.
didn't start.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
played 34 minutes, but he came off the bench.
Oh, so it was pretty much normal for him. So
Yeah, so it was. That's what I'm saying. Like with the
yeah, if OG's in the game, you got to put bigger people in, and I don't. That's their weakness in my opinion. I think they like small ball. The only big they have is Turner, and he can't do it all. So
that's what I'm saying. So if they start Mitchell Robinson again, you might have to run that matchup to begin the game, and then have Nimhart come off the bench. You ain't gonna sit Neesmith. He guards Brunson well.
they had a game plan, game 1 and game 2 of like fouling Mitchell Robinson when they're in the bonus.
Yeah,
And although it may work sometimes, I think it's a really dumb game plan because it messes up your entire flow on defense. Because say you can't foul Mitchell Robinson. I mean, you got to play defense then. You got to actually play up to him because if he was able to score a little bit more than he can now, the team would be very dangerous, dude. Because they have the height advantage. So
it's just that Mitchell Robinson doesn't have an offensive bag like that.
if he did, I'm saying though, like
Yeah, if
I
He
don't
could
know what
develop
I
it,
think the
man.
Knicks
he
could
used to
definitely-
have one when he got drafted. I don't know what happened. He
He's
had a
been
little
injured
mid-range.
so much through the last few years. I think that's part of the problem.
I feel like that doesn't affect your mid range though. He was a mid range beast at one point, especially coming out of high school too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll bring it back eventually, but that's not in their game plan to get him the ball and have him score. I think he's the last person they want to try to score all the time. So I mean, he only had 6 points the other day, and I don't know. He had 6 rebounds, which is concerning. So he's usually the big rebound guy, and Josh Hart and Cat were that. So